What's up, people? I am back for another video. So, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 video will be this week. I figured because it was Thanksgiving, will just take a week off. But today, like last week, I did my favorite albums of the 80s. So I figured we're going to do the ones from the 90s today, and then next Sunday, unless something changes or anything, I'll be doing the 2000s. But this one was kind of interesting to come up with because if you had asked me like probably 10 years ago, Nevermind would have probably been my number one. But I still think it's a good album. But I decided to put In Utero instead, and I'll get to it as number 9. So it's not gonna be too long. But I think that's a more raw album, and I'll go more into that. But I think the 90s had some good ones, and I felt like I wanted to make sure of not getting into the habit of, because it's the 90s, because 90s rock, let's be honest, was dominated by grunge. But I think I did a good job of finding some good ones that aren't even one of the two on the number that's gonna be on my top of my list is Vulgar Display of Power. It's a metal album, so I think that I have a good variety. So we'll get started here. Oh, I guess before we get started, I guess I can go into what I got planned so far this week. Tomorrow, which I'll still be here, but on Tuesday I should be back to my normal spot. Monday I will be doing Thanksgiving 3. Essentially, it's Thanksgiving 2, but for whatever reason they're calling it 3. So yeah, I think that's it as far as I can tell for sequels. So I'll review that, and then Tuesday, I can't wait. We got It Man 2, and then Wednesday, continuing down the M. Night road with The Village. It's been like, I don't know how long since I've watched The Village, so it almost might be me watching it again for the first time, because it has been a while since I've watched The Village. Potentially double-digit years. I don't know the exact years, but I bet it's close to double digits at least, because I can't even think of the last time I watched The Village. So it might be watching it with fresh eyes again. So we'll see. So I got that on Wednesday. For sure Thursday, since we're kind of back to just a regular Thursday. Thanks, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Don't really have anything going on Friday yet. We'll see. But here we go. We're going to get started on my favorite albums from the 90s, sorry. From the 90s. Let's go. Sorry about that. But anyway, you'll get started here. Number 10. Number 10, Skid Row's Slave to the Grind. In my opinion, their second best album. Came out in 1991, in the midst of, because it's the same year as Nevermind, and it was kind of like the start, switch to grunge. But I think Skid Row came out swinging. It's unfortunate, that this was pretty much their last big one. They may have had something afterwards, but this was like their last big great album. But I think this one, it hits hard. It hits like a heavy metal album. I consider it a heavy metal album, in my opinion. Monkey Business. You can almost argue it's objectively better than their first album. I still prefer the first album just because, the more iconic songs. But this does hit hard. Monkey Business, Psycho Sisters, Slave to the Grind, the self-titled song, Wasted Time, which is the last song on the album. You hear that Sebastian Bach's voice. That is why, like, when I did my singers video, like, in that video, it was more in terms of like pure just singing. He is up there for me, number 2. That his voice, at least prime Sebastian, that Wasted Time. If you listen to the singing in that, it is like holy shit. But in a darkened room, like some of these songs go dark. Quicksand Jesus, like the way he's able to like, it's very different how he's able to like. He has so much variety in his voice. So like I think that's a big reason that Sebastian really showed the range in his voice in this song throughout this album, in my opinion. But like best was Wasted Time. Like that song to me is probably my like. I love 18 in Life. Like that's gonna always be like the one I hold dear because that's the song that got me into Skid Row. But like Wasted Time is like, if we're gonna go like pure objective, that is probably his best song in terms of like their best song in terms of singing. Holy shit, Sebastian's voice in that, so you gotta listen to it. When you get to that big like fucking drop, when I first listened, I was stunned. I was like, okay, I might have to rewind that a little bit. I was stunned for a bit. It's like, it legit stunned me. I'm like, wow, what, whoa. Because he had already stunned me with like I Remember You and even 18 in Life. And then it's like, holy shit, dude, he's just raised it another level. And then even like the end of this song, it's like this whole album in general, it's hard. The album art's great. You know, it's unfortunate like this came out like, you know, in the height of grunge, but I think it showed like, you know, that this band wasn't a joke and stuff. So Skid Row's Slave to the Grind is a great one. So that is definitely number 10. Number 9 is In Utero, Nirvana. You know, it's weird because, like I said, 10 years ago, I would probably have said, some, you know, In Bloom. Not In Bloom. The Nevermind album. Because, you know, they have the more iconic stuff's on there. Something in the Way, Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, which is my favorite song from them. But this to me hits harder. Rate Me, Heart-Shaped Box, Scentless, Dumb, Milk It, just a bunch of just Tourette's, just very just hard-hitting album, and it's definitely like it has a more grunge feel to it, and like almost like a concept album in a way. So I think that it has a raw feel to it. That's why to me I prefer it over. And this is more gradual over the years. But yeah, I think Kurt really showed range in this. I'm not saying he didn't show range in Nevermind. And I'm not like blaming people who still stick with Nevermind. Like I can understand that. That's the more iconic album. I don't blame people. But to me, this one just, he really showed it. And like this one hit hard. Probably my favorite one on this is it's Heart-Shaped Box. I fucking love that song. And I love the music video for it. It's just so trippy. So, yeah, this is definitely my favorite Nirvana album. You know, R.I.P. Kurt. So, but yeah, definitely a great one. So, that's why I personally went with it over Nevermind. So, now on to number 8. Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy, and The Infinite Sadness, which I actually listened to like an hour ago. That's a good one because it's 2 discs, but I really I'll admit, more recently got into like Smashing Pumpkins and stuff, like I mentioned in my bands I love a while back, but I really, really like Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corgan showed his talent in this album. I love the cover. I'm actually wearing a shirt of it right now. As like the trippy imagery. Siamese Dream I almost went with because that actually has my favorite one today, but this one I just think overall is better. It's 28 songs, 2 discs. It's just a long, just see Billy's talent tonight, Jelly Belly, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, probably the biggest song on there, 1979, and just yeah, dude, just 28 songs of greatness, and the variety, the music videos, the trippiness, uh, big. I personally kind of consider them grunge, not fully. And this one, I would probably say more Siamese Dream is definitely the more grungier sound, but I think this one still has it, and I think Billy Corgan showed his talent, so that's why I went with this one overall. But yeah, Smashing Pumpkins was great. Love 1979. That's actually the reason I listened to this album, was that song specifically, and Bullet with Butterfly Wings. So it was those two songs, and then yeah. And when you listen to a song with an album, it hits different because you're getting the full scope of the song itself, even. So it definitely a great album. So I had to go with that one for number 8. So before I go to number 7. Number 7, Korn's self-titled album, Korn, which actually I just finished listening to before I did this video. And I gotta say, man, this album hits hard. Like, personally, like, part of me, when I was done with it, I was like, I kind of want to, because I have 2 Korn albums. I have Follow the Leader a little bit up above this one. The reason I went with that, and I'll go more into when I get into that album, is because that has like more of my favorite songs. But listening to this one all the way through, I almost want to switch it, but I'm gonna stick to my decision. But this one it hits hard, man. It's just a sad album. You got so many good songs. Blind, which if the studio version is great. But listen to the demo. It has like a different sound to it, but so many great ones. Blind, and then obviously the big conclusion to the album, Daddy, which in my opinion, I'm going to go more into in its own section really quick here. Daddy is such a sad song, man, because it's about like Jonathan Davis actually being sexually abused by a babysitter. And I just got done listening to it, man. The guitar work and all that is great. It's hard to vibe to the song because it's just so sad. And then you get to that end point where you see John, like, that's his real tears. Like, that's real. They decided to keep that in. Which, whoever, man, I gotta commend, because holy shit, man. Jonathan legit broke down, and it's hard to listen to, man. It's like just raw. And I think in general, this whole album is raw. I mean, even Clown, which is like about bullying, there's so many points in the song, like, it's close to getting like we finally got it in Daddy, where it's just like Jonathan just letting his emotions out. It's such a good album, just in general. And I love the art. This was Korn at their best. Divine. Granted, they have a song called Faggot, and that's the song name. Sorry, YouTube, I'm just going to tell you that now. That is the song name. And granted, I won't say it again after this, but yeah, they have a song called Faggot, which the way he's just able to, like, I can, like, a lot of people who say they're bullied do tend to listen to Korn. I mean, not just, there's you know, Thoughtless, which that is in a later album. Sorry about that. But overall, this album it hits hard, man. And it gets you in the feels, and you get hit with, like, Daddy's like probably the biggest one. So Daddy's a song for Korn. I would recommend you gotta really listen to it I feel like when you're really into Korn, you have to be like really into Korn. That's not a song like I would say listen to, like, oh, if you want to get introduced to Korn, do not listen to that song. It's very sad. It's a fucked up song, and that ending, man, it hits you every time, man. That's why, like, I'll admit I do not listen to it all the time, but this overall, I love this album. So done with But overall, heavily recommend this album. If you want a Korn album to listen to, this is the one. Sorry about that. Number seven. Not number seven, number six. Sorry, I got fucked up here. Number six, Core Stone Temple Pilots. This was, to me, I'll admit, initially I listened to this album because of Plush. Plush was like the reason I mainly listened to this album, but just overall, the great sound. R.I.P. Scott Weiland. Um, he really showed his talent, and just it's once again, I think one of the best things about these albums is the variety, and I would consider like STP definitely one of my favorite like grunge bands of that era. I personally even over Nirvana. I'm sorry, I love Nirvana, but this is more of a just over the years, just the variety throughout the songs. Dead and Bloated, man, that was a great one. Sex Type Thing, fucking Wicked Garden. Creep is like one of their best ones. Even the music video, which is just this black and white, just simple. And then Plush is like just such a classic, you know. And just his voice, the guitar work, and then the music videos for these songs back. It was back then when music videos told us like a story. So that's what made these albums so good. And just the story it told. So overall, very great album. I consider it definitely one of the best grunge albums out there, and I don't blame people who put this like probably up there with the highest in the higher echelon of like grunge albums, or even just '90s albums like I did. So now we're getting to the top five. Follow the Leader, Korn. To me, this is like most people think Korn album. It is this one. Freak on a Leash. Got the Life, Children of the Corn. It's like this is definitely one of their more known albums. I mean the art, but it's just the reason I had this higher is just because I love Got the Life. I love It's On. It's On is such a good kickoff song for the whole album. Children of the Corn was an interesting one. I'll admit that one I listened to later in life because that was a Ice Cube. Ice Cube was on the song and he actually did it with Korn. When I first heard it, I thought it was like, is this some like remix somebody did? No, this is real. And yeah, like it was at a time where you could actually have a nice hybrid of rap and hip hop. I mean, I like Limp Bizkit. This is kind of the similar thing. It was just a great all around album. Got the Life's a classic. Freak on a Leash, what can I say? Probably one of my favorite music videos, the way it transitions from like live action to like cartoon. Very good animation, by the way, that I'm almost like I would have loved to have a show in that style of animation. And this is where Korn kind of like, I feel like this one is definitely more of a, if you want to use the word fun, I guess, album where they kind of let loose. Because I'll admit, Blind Korn, their self-titled album is definitely more of like a very visceral. I'm not saying this one isn't visceral either. Like All in the Family is a pretty visceral song, but it's just this one is definitely more of like their like they kind of let loose and just that's why like probably if you want to use the word palpable album, I guess in a way is good, but this is definitely a good one. All the songs are well put together. Korn at their best. Just yeah. And Korn's gonna probably definitely make a return in this list because their Issues, which came out in 2002. I could be wrong on the year, but I know it's like early 2000s. Like that one's a pretty good one too. So that probably will be on the next one too. So it's like they managed to stay good with the era. So that's my number 5. Now we're on to the top 5. Well, we're already on the top 5. Sorry, but number 4 before we go into it. Number 4, Super Unknown, Soundgarden. I had to put this on here. Like, Soundgarden had to make an appearance. Chris Cornell was such a legend, and the way he's another one who just, the range in his voice, I think it shows in this album, because there's songs that go like more hard, and then obviously you have the self-titled, not the self-titled, but Super Unknown, but you also have Black Hole Sun, which is a more mellow song. Like, it's able to to like show his range, and just so many great ones. Let Me Drown, Fell on Black Days is such a good one. When I first listened to this, it was Black Hole Sun where I found them, but definitely when I listened to the whole album, it just showed, like, man, like, you get the whole picture. And Spoon Man, Limo Wreck. I love their 4th of July song, which I actually do listen to on 4th of July a lot. It's just, I fucking love Chris Cornell, man. And it's sad, obviously R.I.P. But this is such a good album. And this is definitely the album, if you want to get people in a Soundgarden, do this one. Because, Black Hole Sun, what can I say? I love that song. I love the trippiness of that song. I love the music video for it. It's this trippy, like, crazy looking town, and they just put a lot of practical effects into it, and they just go. And I think this whole album in general, they just go. And yeah, it's just it shows, like, how great Soundgarden were. And unfortunately, what's sad is this album came out in '94, and that same year Kurt died, which grunge was kind of on the way out a little bit, but Kurt's death definitely kind of solidified, where I feel like grunge almost just repackaged into alternative. But this still was, I feel like, a nice little, if you want to call it, like, send-off of that, like, grunge era. I think this one did it very well. Now on to the top 3. Number 3 is Pantera Vulgar Display of Power. I had to have this on here, man. This album, to me, I love Cowboys from Hell, but this one to me is just, this is Pantera as, like, the best we know them. So many iconic songs. The album art is fucking cool. It's just this dude getting punched in the face. And that's because kind of what the album is, in a way, in terms of music. It's a punch to the face. Just so many heavy hits. Walk, This War, Mouth of War. Not This War, This Love, sorry. I meant to say that. A New Level. Fucking Hostile. I just love that name. Fucking Hostile. Like, that's just such a cool name for an album. Live in a Hole. Like, it's just such a hard-hitting album. Like, all the songs hit. Like, it's not, like, I don't feel like there's a lull at all. Like, some of these, like, I love Melancholy, but I guess because it's, there's 2 discs. There's definitely, not going to say lulls, but there's just a little bit of, like, these are good songs, but, it is a little bit, like, I'll call it kind of a lull, but not a too bad of a lull. This, just all the songs hit. You're just fucking into it the whole time. This is Pantera at their best. That's why I went with this one. I love Cemetery. Cemetery Gates is on Cowboys from Hell. That's what I meant to say. Cowboys from Hell is a great one. That's a great album too. I don't blame people if they go with that one instead. But just, to me, Vulgar, it's just so many hits. Like, everything's a hit on that one. So definitely, if you want to get into Pantera, this is a way to do it. It's a hit in the face. That's why the album cover is so perfect, because it is a punch in the face in terms of music. And, the iconic song Walk. That song, like, RVD fucking came out to it in ECW. It's just a song that you get into. Like, every time it comes on, But This Love's another fucking one that I can get really into. It's just the fucking dime bag on that guitar, man, and just sad, how he went out. But this song, this whole album just hits. And Walk, the moment it comes on, every time, I'm so into it. But every song though, like this is like Pantera at their. I was gonna say Metallica. I don't know what the fuck I'm on. Pantera. This is Pantera at their best. Like just on top of the world. 1992. Here we go. Heavily recommended. So now on to my number 2, which technically is 2 albums, but to me, because it's the same name and it's one album mate, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 by Guns N' Roses, which to me is such a good. This is like Guns N' Roses' second like iconic album, because most people know Appetite, which is in my first one, but this one is like you have You Could Be Mine, which is in T2, Don't Cry, Civil War, which is in Use Your Illusion 2, fucking Yesterday, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Live and Let Die, which is a great Bond song. It's another one where I feel like Axl really showed fucking range. November Rain, which in terms of Slash's guitar work, this is their best. That is their best, man. That guitar work and the fact that song's like over 9 minutes, or about 9 minutes. So good. So fucking good, man. This is like Axl showing his range, the band in general showing their range. Yeah. All around, just both albums are great. Like they're almost like you can just listen to them back to back. Civil War is such an interesting song. Knocking on Heaven's Door is interesting because it's not like their normal stuff. Yeah, heavily recommend this one. Like, if you really like Guns N' Roses, this is the one I'm. Some people say that this is better than like Appetite because of the more range it has. I don't disagree with those people. I just cling to Appetite for different reasons, but this one is definitely really good. Both of them. Fucking Don't Cry, which is almost like become my new favorite song. Still love Paradise City, but this one is just Don't Cry is so good. It's such a good like breakup send off song. November Rain, just the guitar work in that, and the music videos, for both honestly, are really good. Like I think the music video for a lot of these songs, fucking You Could Be Mine, which is fucking great, just because it's a Terminator 2. It's just so iconic. Like, Guns N' Roses was able to still show like, no, we can still go, because this was 91, because same years. Yeah, this is like the song that showed the album that showed like we still got it, that they could carry over into the new era in the 90s. So overall, really great albums. So I heavily recommend them. Listen to them back to back. You're not going to regret it. So can't wait to get to my number 1, which isn't a surprise because of how big of an Alice in Chains fan I am. Alice in Chains, Dirt, as my number 1 album of the 90s. And this is definitely one, like, interestingly has come over the years, but just because over the years I've gotten, sorry if you're hearing a fucking helicopter, but this album to me over the years has grown. Because yeah, like I said, 10 years ago I would have probably put Nevermind at number 1, but the whole album in general, the songs that definitely got me into was Wood and Rooster, but then eventually just listening to the whole album, the album cover, and I hope I don't get dinged because I just didn't even think about it. But the cover does have like kind of like a chick with tits. Hopefully it doesn't get dinged. Hopefully it's covered up enough. It's like she's covered in dirt, and that's kind of like what it was. And Lane Staley, man, um, and Jerry Cantrell on guitar. Just this whole album was genius. The variety, um, that is so. This is another album like Vulgar Display, but that's why those two to me are probably my number one and two. Is the consistency. All the songs are good. Like they're all fucking hits. There's not like one song that's a miss or you could take that song out. No, I listen to the whole album. When it comes to Dirt, I listen to the whole album. There are times I do just listen to specific songs, but when I'm in the mood, I listen to definitely the whole album. It's sad because the reason originally part of me wanted it because in my opinion, Alice in Chains had all great. They had fucking all. They're another band to me that had like so many just back to back bangers because you had this album, but before this one you had Facelift, and then after this one you had Jar of Flies. But I felt like I didn't want to like just put all Alice. This list would just be all Alice in Chains because to me that period, like because Facelift was 90, this was 92. Jar of Flies like a year later in 93. So it's like just back to back essentially. Granted, minus the first one. First was a little like 2 years ahead back, but it really shows like that just range of time. They just had so many hits. And I decided to stick with Dirt just because just the songs, man. Them Bones, which is a great like just intro song. Like that's just a great intro. It's like 2 minutes of just great guitar and it's heavy, gets you into it. Then you have Iron Gland, Damn That River, Rain When I Die, which is a song that more recently I've gotten more into because before it was just kind of like the song on there. But when I got more just listen to that album, Rain When I Die is so fucking good. The range throughout Down in a Hole, Sick Man, Junkhead, which that song, man, if you want to like get into an addict's head, like a drug addict's head, that song is like how you do it. It is definitely a visceral. That's why his whole album in general is very visceral to the point where I almost think when I think grunge album now, it is this one. Yeah, if I ever did like a favorite grunge albums list, this is definitely gonna be number one. Just this album is the epitome of grunge to me. It hits. It's visceral. It's fucking raw. Junkhead, that song alone. If you want to get into like a drug addict's head, it's unfortunate there wasn't like a music video for it. There's somebody who took a movie called Trainspotting with Ewan McGregor, which is about an addict where they cut it to a music video to this song, and it works because it's like that song is like the perfect example of that. But then the iconic song like Rooster, which in my opinion is one of my favorite music videos, like just like it's a great Vietnam song. Granted it can come out at the time, but it's a great represent in the way it opens with this man telling his story, and then it goes into the story, and the song fucking fits with the story. Such a great song. It's great, like 6 minutes. It's like, man, I can listen to this whole album. Like, man, Dirt's a great one. Angry Chair, and then Wood is my favorite song. Like Wood, in the sense of like that is the song that got me into the band. Love Hate Love is more probably objectively their best because of their voice range, and that's in the Facelift album. But this one, Wood, is such a good one. I love the music video. It's just such a good album. It's such a fucking strong end to this great album in general. And yeah, it's my favorite grunge album, but it's definitely my favorite 90s album too. This to me hits the hardest. It's such a raw album in general. The guitar, Jerry on guitar, man, and fucking Alice on vocals and the bass guitar, bass and drums are putting their work into it too. But those two specifically as a team, just such a good band and just in general a great album. So, but yeah, can't. I just have to. I'm probably gonna definitely listen to it after this album, after I do this video, and yeah, so can't wait to get. It's such a good album, and I heavily. If you want to get somebody into Alice, I think honestly, any of those three albums, Facelift, this one, or Jar of Flies, but I would probably say this one just because it has like the more of the hits consistently. But Facelift is close though, because Facelift is like Man in the Box, Love Hate Love. That there's some good ones on that one too, but this one just I feel like there's so many where you'll keep someone's attention listening to this specifically. And the range. So definitely. But yeah guys, this has been fun. I'm kinda happy to talk more music stuff again. It's been a while, but I'm definitely happy talking some music stuff. I'm gonna eventually see if I can find a way to squeeze in some time to do a bands I love. So I want to start doing that again. But at least with these, I'm still talking music. So, but yeah, tomorrow I'll be doing Thanksgiving Killing 3. Yippee! I guess I don't know, man. Let's see if it can be any fucking worse than the first one. I probably am gonna challenge myself saying that, but we'll see. But I'm gonna cheers and peace out. And it's been fun doing this video. As usual. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Simu Liu. Fuck Kamala Harris. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.